thanks for joining us today for the DoK SIG meeting. Today's May 20th. And today we have our first SIG Spark Talk. That's what I'm calling it, which is just a nice way to say a little lightning talk. And today we have Shubham from Red Hat, who's going to give a short presentation. And then we'll go over the sort of normal SIG stuff. And I have some announcements about DoK Day, upcoming DoK Day, and Coupon. So yeah, I'll let you take over, Shubham, and you can give your presentation.
Cool. Let me just share my screen.
Cool.
You
Looks
guys
good.
can see it, right? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Cool. Hello everyone. Myself Shubham Pampattiwar. I work as a senior software engineer at Red Hat, and I'm also one of the maintainers for the open source Valero project. So today we'll give a lightning talk, or as Spark talk, on modern backup and restore strategies for data on Kubernetes clusters. So let's get over it. This will be a short, simple, and sweet talk, I think. So what makes KDS backup challenging? So today's world, more and more enterprises and users are trying to use Kubernetes in complex clusters, and they have dynamic workloads in KDS, and adoption rate is increasing day by day. So you don't only have manifest objects and static cluster objects, you also have volumes with it. So it becomes a bit tricky on how to handle these backups, right? Like volumes with the manifests of objects. So due to these complex interdependencies and having stateful workloads, like we need to like this becomes a challenging task. So for example, you could have databases in your production environment, you could have machine learning pipelines, or you could definitely have operators or applications with persistent volumes. So all these scenarios are a bit challenging to tackle for backup operations and restore operations. So what we'll do is we'll just go over some high level strategies for taking backups, and hopefully these help everyone who are targeting backups in Kubernetes clusters. So strategy number one is basically automate everything, and that's the key here. Like automation prevents human error and ensures coverage. So for example, you could schedule backups with daily or weekly configs depending on whatever API, backup API you're trying to use, or backup product you're trying to use. They will definitely have schedule API, and that will make sure that you have a good recovery point in time for your application, that is RPO. And another thing that you could take care of is use pre-backup hooks to flush out the caches from in memory to secondary storage, or anything, or any kind of task that you want to perform, like wires the database and stuff like that, before performing a backup, so that you don't face data corruption during backup operation. You could also ensure that you could use post restore hooks. Certainly most of the backup APIs in general have these functionalities. So post restore hooks could be used to perform some tasks that are required before restarting the application. So you could automate all these things and ensure that you have you maintain the integrity of the backup. So that is our strategy number one, like automate everything. And then next up, we have like backup both volumes and metadata. So essentially, volume only backup is incomplete in Kubernetes, because most of the apps are interconnected with deployments or whatever native KDS resources, or you could have custom resources as well, right? CRDs and CRs. So these apps in general, as of today, whenever you have stateful workloads, are accompanied with PVCs and PVs and volumes. So you need to take a backup of volume data in conjunction with the manifest or the app resources that you have. You cannot just take volume only backup. So you could use filtering for this, like you could include the whole namespace in the backup, or you could use label selector as a criteria for what resources you want to include in the backup. Let's say you only want to include the database deployment and its PV, so label them accordingly and use it as a criteria for your backup. operation. And you also need to be careful that you take a backup of relevant config maps, secrets, or whatever are the necessary artifacts that are required for the app to function when you restore the app, right? So you need to make sure that you have both volumes and metadata or the manifests of the app. So that's our strategy number two. uh, so this is strategy number three. This is pretty important in my opinion, like using application aware backups. So as I mentioned earlier, we have like most of the backup uh, providers have hooks, I think, and here you can see an example of pre-backup hook. So for we are here you can see we are trying to take a backup of MySQL, and so some apps like MySQL need to be quiesced, or like in other words pause before you take the backup operations. So here you can leverage hooks. So if you just take a look at the command, it's like MySQL flush tables, lock tables. What it does is simply flushes the in-memory data of MySQL to secondary storage or to disk, and also prevents like places a read lock on database, so that that prevents data corruption. So you don't have reads or writes on the database when you're performing the backup operation, so that the data is like the integrity remains sane, and the it prevents data corruption. So hooks are pretty important. So these commands, like they're application specific, right? They're application aware. They cannot be generic. Like you could have other backup specs, generic like namespaces or like labels or whatever, but these specific like hooks could be app specific. Like similarly for Mongo, you could use the Mongo dump utility just to archive whatever you want to take in the whatever you want to save before taking the backup of MongoDB. So similarly, you'll have to come up with recipes, like to say it recipes, backup recipes for hooks or custom logic that you want to use before taking a backup or post restore to. So that's our strategy number three. Then we have this is pretty important too. Like we need to embrace snapshot based backups, in my opinion. So why do we need to embrace them? Like thumb rule of snapshots is they're fast, they're atomic, they're efficient. So like they're pretty. If you create a CSI snapshot like today in KDS, it's instantaneous, and most of the CSI drivers or storage providers have their own snapshot API integrated with CSI. So whenever you create a CSI snapshot, the it triggers the storage provider's snapshot too. So that is efficient too and gives you a consistent data store in time. And this is pretty important in applications where you need to orchestrate the recovery point, right? Like where there are multiple volume databases, or there are Kafka apps or data streaming apps where you need to coordinate. And one other thing, like that's yet to be GA'd, I think it's beta now, like volume group snapshots. This feature enables you to take multiple volumes snapshot at the same time. So this is also getting a lot of traction today because of stateful apps. So all in all, you should embrace snapshots, and that will definitely improve your backup abilities of apps. Um, yeah, strategy number five. This is also pretty important. Like you need to choose your storage wisely where you want to store your backup. Uh, like you should consistently tag your backups. Like you could label them, or like this one is for prod, this one is for dev. Like you don't like override the backups. So that's pretty important. Then another thing is use your, like if you're using buckets to store backups in general, object storage is used for backups. So ensure that they are like replicated across regions, or their multi-zone replication is enabled and stuff like that. So you always have a insurance policy in place even if one region or availability zone goes down. And we all know that cloud costs can be overwhelming sometimes. So you need to monitor the cost to the performance of the type of tiers of buckets that you're trying to use for your backups. So like ensure that you have separate access tiers for more frequently used storage locations. Like you could use cheaper ones for those, and more available ones for the production ones and stuff like that. So you need to choose your storage wisely, like all in all. Then always test your restores. Like this is self-explanatory. Like backups are useless without tested restores. Like backup could be successful, but if you don't know whether the restore of that backup will work, then it's like futile, right? That's action is a futile. So you what you could do is you could do restore in staging clusters and check up on the app when it comes up, like all the health parameters or data integrity and stuff like that. You should do this regularly with your latest backups or older backups that you want to retain. So you could also include a test restore like pipeline step in your CI or deployment, where you make sure that whatever the app that is getting uh, productized or deployed, you take a backup of it and also do a restore of it in your pipeline itself, so that it ensures whatever your code is getting productized or whatever code is getting pushed, that is like it on failure you could restore it. So you could also use sandbox environments for like validating such restores. And final strategy, I think we should always configure alerts and use metrics. So this is the key. Like, how would you know when a backup fails? Usually, you have scheduled backups, automated backups in your environment. So if even if you're not monitoring the dashboard, you should know what is going on. Like, are the backups partially failed? Are the manifest partially failed, or like are the restores working, are the schedules in place, is the configuration appropriate for the schedules in place, and stuff like that. So you should create a Prometheus dashboard and export the metrics and monitor them, set up alerts and stuff like that, so you could get like notified as soon as possible and work on fixing it. So I think that's all for the strategies I wanted to cover up. Uh, just wanted to give you an overview of how Velero like does it. So if you don't know what Velero is a open source tool for backing up and restoring Kubernetes cluster resources and volumes. And at a high level architecture, it supports all cloud native backup storage integrations and CSI snapshots with data mover. So data mover means your CSI snapshots, which are generally local, uh, they are moved to object storage via data mover. So it provides additional durability and portability to snapshots. So here you can see in this table, like whatever strategy I went over, there is a parity with the strategy is parity with Velero's support, like automate backups. So we already have scheduled CRDs, or you could even have use Velero CLI automation for this. Full resource coverage, like metadata with volumes or PVCs, everything is like can be backed up using Velero. App aware backups, we have pre-post hooks for DBs and services. Fast snapshots, we went over this, like CSI snapshots. And in upcoming release, we are also working on adding volume group snapshot support. So I have the design approved for it and working on implementation for this in this upcoming release, 117 release. Then flexible storage, Velero has plugins architecture, and most of the cloud providers have their object storage plugins available for Velero, like AWS, GCP, Azure, or S3 compatible storage providers like Minayo, etc. And it provides easy restore testing API too, so you could do restore resource filtering and use selective restore filtering for testing your restores of apps. And built-in observability too, like we expose a lot of metrics regarding backup restores or whatever APIs we provide out of the box. So you could use those metrics in your Prometheus dashboard to set up alerts and monitor your processes in play. I guess that's the conclusion. All in all, I would just say that modern backup isn't about storage, it's about reliability, resilience, and readiness. And high level, like automate, test, and monitor backups. Like, yeah. You could also join our growing community at Valero. It's an open source project, community driven project, and we always want more volunteers to join and contribute to the community. I guess that's it. Let me know if you guys have any questions. You can reach out to me. on Slack as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. We appreciate that. Does
Mhm.
anybody have any questions? Feel free to just like unmute um, if you have any questions or if you just want to have a comment. Um, well, oh,
Well, just thank you because the strategies and the best practice are always good to share with the others, most importantly for backup and restore. So thank you.
Certainly, certainly. My pleasure.
yeah, we can maybe that's something we can add to like the get started guide. That's like addition because we had that get started guide they're working on Shubham that was like for people who are getting started with DoK and it can be a little overwhelming. And then we kind of left it's sort of a living document. And the point of it is to kind of we can add on to it. So maybe this is more of like um, a kind of continued learning. So
Yeah, yeah. We could like add like day two operations section and stuff like that and that.
yeah. Um, yeah, and we can point a video to this talk as well. Yeah, I mean that's sort of the point was one, yeah, to draw people in, so to come to these talks, but also, you know, have people discuss different topics. To that's why I called it the SIG Spark Talk, is to sort of spark discussion and maybe something someone wasn't thinking about. Like
Yeah.
oh, I have an idea for that. Um, yeah, so that's great. Really appreciate it. Um, well, let's just dive in real quick to let me share my screen and I'll dive into the agenda for the meeting. So, yeah, so just one of the ongoing projects that Jonathan started, which is this stateful workload in Kubernetes, like a knowledge base. So it's sort of a best practices guide. Um, and if you take a look at that, there's a link in GitHub which explains what the project is. So it's something that Jonathan was spearheading. This way people can like collect, do experiments and post their results there. So it's open. People like, if you want to contribute, all you have to do is submit a pull request, and we'll review it and add it to the document. Um, anything to add, Jonathan, right now about that?
Yeah, that I've been busy in the
Yeah.
last period and I didn't move forward anything there, but I'm planning to do that. So, or at least for my part, the one that covers the PostgreSQL database on Kubernetes. So all the experiment I've done and some part of the talk I made a few months ago at the doc will officially enter the repository with some explanation, sorry, and of course test that can be reproduced by anyone.
Cool, perfect. Yeah, I think having an example will be great for people to know what we're looking for. So yeah, I appreciate it and totally understand. Everybody's busy, so that's the nature of this work, right? It's when you have time. So totally understand. Um, all right, cool. Well, just so here's a couple updates. So DOK Day, was back in was it in March or April? Um, and in London. So now all of the videos, if you weren't able to attend in person, are available on YouTube. Here's the link to that, so you can take a look. There's lots of KubeCon DOK Day announcements. So we have been invited back for DOK North America, or for KubeCon North America 2025 in Atlanta. So actually, this should change. The CFP is now open. So it's open until June 30th. So, the time between the winter one and the spring one is always very short, the CFP window. This one you have like a month and a half. So there's more time to make a submission. So we encourage everybody to do that if you want to give a talk. And then also, if you're interested in being a part of the program committee, um, you can go to this link. So this is just a Google form. It's for CNCF, joining committees in general, but then you can check a box for which ones you're interested in. So yeah, I encourage everybody who's participates in the SIG to submit themselves to become part of the committee. And if you want to submit a CFP, you can do both. So you just, wouldn't vote on your own paper or your own proposal, but you can definitely submit a proposal and also submit to become part of the program committee. So if you're worried about it being on the program committee affecting your chances of your proposal being selected, you don't have to worry about that. So yeah, those are really the main announcements for today. All KubeCon related. Actually, you know what? I didn't add this, but we are planning on doing the DoK days or the DoK survey shortly, and having that open for a few months, which will of course we'll use that data to write the DoK yearly report. So stay tuned for that. If you have ideas for questions, let me know, and we can see if we can add them to the report. Melissa's working on the questions right now. I see there's two things, so I'm gonna add these in real time. DoK survey. Do you have insights on questions we should be asking? And then also for KubeCon, we always also submit a proposal for the main KubeCon event for a panel. So if you have ideas for that, let us know, because we'll have to, I think the CFP for KubeCon is usually due before the co-located events. So if you have ideas for a panel, let us know. DoK, I'm gonna write that. Ideas for DoK panel at KubeCon. Yeah, that's really it. Does anybody else have anything else they want to share, or any questions about anything there? If not, that's really it for today. Shubham, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to put that together. Appreciate. I'll put the link to the talk on YouTube, and share it on the DoK different channels on Slack and on LinkedIn. So hopefully people will get some useful information from that.
Certainly. Sure thing. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. All right, well, that's really it. Yash, if that's how you pronounce your name, thanks for joining too. Hopefully you can make it to the next one. If you have ideas to contribute to the DoK SIG, we'd happy to hear them. So, all right, everybody. Well, have a great rest of the day or evening in your case, Jonathan, and we'll
Yeah, thank you.
get the next one.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.